and my guest, the lovely Iraka. And the poem you did on women was most gracious, and I myself have written many tributes to women, to black women, and I would like to respond with a piece from my book entitled Color Me Poetry, and the poem is simply entitled Chocolate City Candy. Chocolate City Candy, just a taste of you makes my life so complete. Learning to love you is a special treat. The little loving things you do forever makes your honey sweet. Your good and plenty loving just knocks me off my feet. You're my sugar baby, peppermint patty pearl, my M&M plain chocolate city candy girl, my lifesaver, my Fifth Avenue, my Lover's Lane Park, my butterfinger whatchamacallit, such sweetness in the dark. Now and later, you'll always be my Mary Jane, my baby Ruth, my mounds of almond joy, chocolate honey, sweet tooth. Let me be your payday, sugar daddy galore, your 100 grand, Mr. Goodbar for sure. When you turn on your total titular charm, your chocolate cherry kisses make me melt in your arms. You're my sugar baby, peppermint patty pearl, you're my M&M plain, chocolate city candy girl.
Great. I got a cavity.
I ain't no dentist.
That's great.
What I did was I wanted to say something sweet and to pay honor and tribute to black women in general.
And I think you named every candy that has ever been made.
Yeah, and I wanted to find a clever way of doing it. So I used different candy bars that are traditionally known, by everybody.
It's very
But it's to be able to incorporate that in a poem and make it make sense at the same time was really quite a challenge.
It feels sweet. I mean, you kind of have to smile when you listen to it because it's sweet.
And you can identify with the candy. And also there's another selection, a little more on the serious side, rather than candy. I wanted to talk about. We were talking about earlier about education and about writing and what you sometimes had to go through. So I wanted to dedicate this particular poem to the Honorable Dr. Carter G. Woodson. And Dr. Carter G. Woodson's book, The Miseducation of the Negro, is a book that really inspired me.
The most important book.
I mean, it's like the second Bible to me when I first read it. And I said to myself, what manner of man who wrote this book, Miseducation of the Negro, in 1923, but the white publishers wouldn't publish them, so he published it himself in 33, like 10 years later. And when I read it, the book was so powerful and so pertinent that today it was frightening. And the truth was so bright, it was just frightening. So I wanted to dedicate this particular poem to the Honorable Dr. Carter G. Woodson, Conscious Control. Trapped and trained to think with somebody else's mind, caught up in the method to the madness by a master design. MAs, JDs, MSs, and MBA and a PhD. Without the knowledge of self, don't mean a thing to me. It's all ignorant academics at its best, like the educated fool, full of BS. Highly miseducated misfits will keep you chained and bound, and every time you try to get up, they'll pull you back down. Symptoms of the sickness of the soul is simply miseducation by conscious control.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
So
it captures the essence of the book perfectly.
Yeah, and that's what I felt when I was reading the book. I made notes to myself, and I've read the book several times since I originally read it.
One of the most important points he makes in that book is that most of the people who have contributed most to the betterment of the race are people who have not received higher, quote unquote, higher education.
That's true.
They escaped, as he put it.
And I think there were people who made significant contributions who didn't have a degree in anything but common sense. And I'm not anti-education, but that's a fact. Sometimes we think we need all kinds of degrees and stuff, and we do. We need people. We need doctors and lawyers.
The African concept of education is to educe, to bring out that which is already inside, and to simultaneously develop the left hemisphere, which is logical, rational, etc., with the right hemisphere, which is intuitive and spiritual, and that to be truly educated, you've got to develop both of those aspects of it.
And have a balance.
But modern day education in this country only develops the left side, so people lose touch with reality. They aren't able to, just sit down and assess a situation for what it is on the surface. They've got to, write a thesis or plan or chart it, and quite often that winds up with less understanding than you would have if you just approached it from common sense. Right.
Also, I wanted to ask you about who are some of your favorite writers, poets, novelists, songwriters.
I love Claude McKay, basically for his poem, If We Must Die.
What do you think about it?
You know,
very
if
powerful.
we must die, let it be like men. You know, not dogs cowering. You know,
Yeah.
which is the essence. You know, if you don't have anything to die for, you don't really have anything to live for.
Yeah. And in essence, that's what Dr. King was saying too. That's what Marcus Garvey was saying. Also,
I think Dr. King's message, though, even though it had the same premise. I mean, you know, you let your dying count for something. Don't just die.
Just for
you know, for the cause, because if that doesn't directly address that which, you know, you're trying to fight against, maybe it's a waste.
Well, Claude McKay was a product of the Harlem Renaissance in the 1920s. There were many things happening during that time.
As they are now. It's happening all over again, thank goodness.
Not only in the area of literature, but also in music and art.
Film. A lot of people don't realize that, you know, we were producing film independently. I mean,
black independent producers.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, there were people like Langston Hughes and his great works, and they had you know, benefactors and all, which you don't find as much today as you did, you know, during that time.
I'm actually appreciative of that African art and African expression in this day, other than, say, the motion picture industry and the record industry, but as far as art is concerned, that most of the support is coming from Africans. You know, artists are more able to support themselves. They've been able to.
Well, that's because of raised consciousness too in our community. Well, let's hit another point from you. We know you got something else that's beautiful there.
Yes, this I wrote when I realized how many forces were out there trying to keep me from being all that I could possibly be. It's called I Am. I am me, and I can be anyone I wish to be. There are no limitations to what I can achieve, except those I place upon myself. All that stands between what I am and what I can be, between what I desire and what I obtain, is the power of my belief that I can and I will achieve and obtain. No man is worthy of losing that power. No woman capable of dimming that light. No one is a better judge of or instrument of measure of my self-worth than I. I must continually identify those aspects of my being that may cause me to doubt my ability to achieve and obtain, and either moderate them, modify them, or eliminate them. I must filter others' judgment of me and retain only that which will accentuate my positive, eliminate my negative, and leave everything in between to me. I am a gift from God, a life the Creator has chosen to place upon this earth to fulfill a purpose, even if that purpose be only to ensure my happiness and the happiness of those I love. I will not spurn this gift of life, but vow with each new day to truly live.
I simply like to say I am, I can, and I will say that is most wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to ask you about,